CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we have Jeff Winter. You probably know him. He's a number one industry 4.0 and digital transformation enthusiast and influencer. He's a business strategist, avid storyteller. He's a tech geek. He's a public speaker. He's had over 70 million views of his LinkedIn content. That's where I connected with him. We've been kind of chopping it up with comments over the last couple of years. He's got a bunch of other accolades, and he is currently the VP of Business Strategy at Critical Manufacturing. We're going to cover a lot, so let's just jump into it. Jeff, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you making the time. And, you know, there's so many things I've always wanted to ask you. I do that sometimes in the comments on LinkedIn. And I first of all want to thank you for, responding and engaging. I know you've got a lot of people you got to keep up with. So I always appreciate those moments. And it's cool to see all the stuff you put out. It's carefully crafted so that people can consume this information. But I want to just chop it up about that stuff. So the first one I want to get into, we've got some questions that were gathered up. I prepared some of them, and I'm just going to go through these kind of in order and paint this picture for everyone, drawing from your experiences, what you see, what you get to spend your time with in the industry as you're moving around conferences and contributing to these different articles in these great publications. You're working at a great company right now in that role. So first off, you posted, this was last year, about digital transformation being imperative in 2024. I know we're in 2025 already, and it might not be for everyone. And that's especially for those that might be unprepared. So I wanted to get your response on that perspective that it might not be for everyone.
So I honestly can't think of any industry or even a single company that can thrive in the long run without going through some level of digital transformation. And we talk about digital transformation, we're not just referring to slapping on some new software or moving files to the cloud. It's about fundamentally rethinking how your business operates, leveraging digital tools to improve processes and make data-driven decisions and create new value for customers and even for stakeholders. But here's the thing, digital transformation isn't a one-size-fits-all journey. So the level of transformation a company undergoes will look very different depending on the industry, the company size, and even the strategic goals. I mean, some organizations may do a full overhaul of their systems and processes, while others might focus on smaller incremental improvements that still make a big impact. And just like no two companies are the same, the timeline for transformation varies too. I mean, some businesses started their digital journey years ago and are arguably either done with the transformation or almost done. And while others may not feel the pressure to move this year or next year or even a little later, there's one thing for sure, depending on where you fit in that spectrum. It isn't a matter of if digital transformation will happen, it's when. Even within a single company, different departments feel the urgency at different times. I mean, marketing teams, for example, often lead the charge because customer expectations are evolving rapidly, and staying relevant means embracing new digital tools for personalization, automation, and engagement. Meanwhile, operations or finance or HR might take a more measured approach. I mean, focusing on efficiency and cost savings at first. But ultimately, companies that take a strategic, phased approach, kind of understanding their specific needs and prioritizing the right areas and integrating systems across departments, they'll be the ones that not only survive, but thrive in this digital age. I mean, transformation is a combination of a journey and a destination. And so you need to figure out what that destination is for you and what the journey looks like for you.
Yeah, it is a big undertaking. There's so many ways that it impacts the business, the people in that business, keeping them moving forward. And it's a big topic now, then, and it's going to continue to be a big topic. And I think for me, I debate, like in my mind, is there really a rush to do it? And sometimes I agree. Other times I'm really careful about kind of where they're at in their maintenance maturity journey. And you and I have traded comments on that. And I think the way you said it there is not just helpful. And for me, I just want to add on to it that, people should be thinking about it, considering it, because at some point you should really do it because it does offer benefits. You can see a better vision of the future of how your organization is moving, where you're really going to be heading. And ultimately, the pinnacle of that is getting in a position of continual process improvement, especially in manufacturing, provided, you're the kind of company that can benefit from that continual improvement. Not everyone has to go that deep, kind of like what you said. Um, where do you think, or where does the computerized maintenance management system, CMMS, fit in the broader digital transformation process in your view?
So I would argue any software can be part of a digital transformation initiative. The real question is what role it plays and how impactful it can be. And the impact largely depends on your digital transformation goals and your digital maturity, your current digital maturity. Because if your company is primarily focused on proving customer experience, if that's your main digital transformation goal, a CMMS might not be the most critical tool. However, if your goals revolve around boosting operational efficiency and enabling data driven decision making, a CMMS can be quite powerful. Now, one of the biggest factors in a CMMS's impact is how well it integrates with all the other systems that you have. Because a standalone CMMS can help track work orders and manage preventive maintenance schedules and keep asset records in check. It's useful, but its potential is limited to just basic maintenance tasks without a broader view of operations. I mean, data stays siloed, making it harder to align maintenance efforts with larger business objectives. But a fully integrated CMMS, one that connects to your systems like your EAM, your APM, your MES, your SCADA, your ERP, basically any software that has an acronym that you can think of with it. I mean, even your IoT platforms. If you are fully integrated with all those, in this scenario, maintenance, the data produced by maintenance, it feeds into production planning and financial reporting and performance optimization efforts. For example, integration with an ERP system ensures that maintenance costs are accurately tracked against budgets, while connecting it with a MES or an APM system allows for real-time performance monitoring and even predictive maintenance strategies. So ultimately, the more interconnected your CMMS is within your digital ecosystem, the greater the ability to drive efficiency, to reduce downtime, and to support your strategic decision making. The goal should be to move beyond standalone functions and create a seamless flow of information across the entire organization.
I love that. It really reminds me of, well, so I'm friends with Ryan Chan over at Upkeep, and I've got a few other friends over there. And when we look at maintenance management processes, maintenance maturity, and what you're saying about having really everything integrated, ultimately, what you're trying to do from a maintenance perspective is connect all of your maintenance activities to the business as a whole. And maintenance management, that whole department is oftentimes, and it's always going to be a challenge, treated as a cost center when it's actually a major contributor and enabler to the health of the business, overall production, all those outcomes. And he calls it asset operations management. And as you were describing that, I was just thinking of that. You've got the silo here, 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 and we want to get those connected and in a way that is truly going to give us visibility to the right KPIs, the right metrics that are actually going to keep us moving forward. And it lifts that department into the overall business. I'm really passionate about maintenance and maintenance management, as you know. So I appreciate the way you described it. And I just wanted to call that out because that is an actual overall business strategy that has nothing but upside in my humble opinion. So I appreciate that. Now, how can a CMMS help businesses leverage Industry 4.0 technologies to improve efficiency and predictive capabilities? And I think you already mentioned it, so I'll throw in the sensors and the other monitoring. But How would you approach that question?
That's a hard one to answer because Industry 4.0 represents the era that we're living in now, which is around all the various different disruptive technologies coming out, working together collectively to transform the way that we work, the way that we as a industry provide value. So if you think of it as kind of a description of the era, some people call it like Industry 4.0 technologies because it's the new ones: AI, IoT, cloud, augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchain, digital twin, you name it, any of those technologies kind of coming together. A lot of them provide different value for different reasons, depending on what you're trying to do. I mean, related to CMMS as an example, IoT is the like foundational layer that allows for collection of more data to be brought into a CMMS system. You look at things like artificial intelligence, and especially like machine learning algorithms are a key component to allow for predictive maintenance capabilities. Digital twins can be used to make a visual representation of your production line. It could be your maintenance, depending on how you want to look at it, but any visual representation. Augmented reality and virtual reality are used to change the way that technicians consume information from machines and even work on troubleshooting or repairing machines through the way that they're collecting information and visualizing it. So I would argue probably every technology out there could impact maintenance in a CMMS, depending on how you want to use it and what you're trying to do.
I like that because that very last part is really where folks out there that are considering making a change, first time jumping into a CMMS, they're starting out on considering that digitization process. Where do we start? That's where they need to take the time, slow down a little bit, and really assess, why are we doing this? Not just what are we going to get out of it, but why are we doing this, and really connect it to, for example, the root cause problems that they're looking to solve within the production environment that's connected to maintenance. And we could really spin out here, but I like just the way you ended that description, because it's a way to remind people, you can do all this, you should be considering it, but consider it deeply so you know why you're doing this for the business as a whole. And I hope that's fair to add on to that. Um, how do these maintenance maturity levels impact the timing and approach to adopting new technologies, and what can go wrong or right?
So, maintenance maturity levels directly influence the timing and approach to adopting new technologies because they shape how well an organization can leverage tools like I just mentioned, anything from IoT to AI to digital twin, augmented reality, or capabilities like predictive analytics. So, if you look at typical maturity levels that are out there, the progression starts at reactive maintenance, where companies address issues only after they occur. From there, you typically move up to proactive approaches, such as preventative maintenance, which introduces scheduled interventions to reduce unexpected failures. Then you kind of move up to condition-based maintenance, which takes further using real-time data to make decisions. And then that can leverage machine learning to do predictive maintenance, where analytics and machine learning can help anticipate failures before they happen. And then the highest level that people aspire to is usually something called prescriptive maintenance. And it not only predicts issues, but it also recommends the best course of action based on data-driven insights. Now, these levels impact everything from the organization's planning capabilities to its technology adoption readiness. So companies in the reactive phase may struggle with implementing advanced technologies because they lack structured processes and even the data necessary to be effective. On the other side, those operating at a predictive or prescriptive level are better positioned to extract real value from technology like artificial intelligence. And they already have a data-driven culture and kind of a solid planning and even infrastructure in place. Now, what can go right? Well, when companies adopt technology at the right maturity level, they see reduced downtime, lower cost, more efficient resource allocation. I mean, maintenance strategies shift from being a cost center, like you mentioned, to a strategic asset that drives operational performance. But what can go wrong is implementing advanced solutions too soon before an organization has reached the appropriate maturity can lead to poor adoption, unreliable data and resistance from teams that are accustomed to older methods. You can destroy trust in the technology and delay the implementation even when you are mature and capable, because without proper planning and just foundational improvements in place, new technologies end up being more of a burden than a benefit. So I would say ultimately the key to successful digital transformation in maintenance is recognizing your current maturity level and your capability level, setting realistic goals, and taking a phased approach to implementing new technologies that align with your operational needs and capabilities and with what your people are ready and able to use and do.
There is a lot there. When we look at that overall concept of bringing in these technologies too soon, one thing that I've found to be really important is connecting it to the culture. So if a culture of excellence really exists within, let's say, focusing in on the maintenance team, the maintenance department, and they're bought in on why we're doing this, provided they have the appropriate maintenance maturity level or digitization maturity level, then you've got a much higher likelihood of success. That's where things can, in fact, go right. And as far as going wrong, I think that's a big takeaway where I've seen for many years, and a lot of the people I talk to, lots of incredible maintenance and reliability professionals, not just in North America, but around the globe at this point, where if you're bringing something in, that magic silver bullet, that shiny thing that's going to just solve all your problems, it just doesn't work that way. You can't go too soon because on one hand, you're setting yourself up for failure. On the other hand, that I think is even worse when it comes to this idea of something going wrong is you could end up with shelfware, and you've spent the money, you've spent some of the time, you've disrupted things and still haven't realized any benefits. So that's definitely good stuff. I want to switch over to Industry 5.0 because it's getting a lot of attention, and I'm over here kind of going, that's too soon, man. We're still trying to work out Industry 4.0. A lot of people are still in the 2.5, 3, whatever you want to call it. I think you know what I'm getting at here. Is Industry 5.0 too soon, or is it really a natural next step after Industry 4.0? What do you have to say about any of that?
So anyone who follows me on LinkedIn knows my stance on Industry 5.0. I'm all in on the concepts behind it. Who wouldn't be? A more human-centric, sustainable, and resilient industry sounds like a win for everyone. But I really dislike the name. Calling it Industry 5.0 makes it seem like we've moved on from Industry 4.0, if it's some brand new industrial era. I mean, if you look at Industry 4.0 was meant to be a nickname or a moniker for the fourth industrial revolution, which means that Industry 3.0 is to represent the third industrial revolution and kind of so on. That would imply that Industry 5.0 is the fifth industrial revolution. But what's interesting is even the group that came up with the term says it's more of an evolution than a revolution. So that's confusing in itself, because I would argue we are not anywhere close to an actual fifth industrial revolution right now. Now, the ideas behind Industry 5.0, like I said, focusing more on human-machine collaboration, sustainability, and resilience, they aren't revolutionary. I view them as natural extensions of what Industry 4.0 already has set in motion. Industry 4.0 has always been about digitization and smart technologies, and these principles were never meant to exclude the human factor or sustainability concerns. So instead of looking at Industry 4.0 as a completely new phase, it's more accurate to see it as just kind of, I would say, an evolution, but I would just argue it's Industry 4.0 as it's kind of changing while we're living in this era. Industry 4.0 was a famous term that came out in 2011 at Hanover Fair as part of the German high-tech strategy. And it had a specific vision that was created by the Germans at that time that they announced to the world. So if you take that very specific vision, from over a decade ago, that's why they kind of view it as Industry 4.0 Industry 5.0 is different than it. But that term That's only one country. It then took hold all around the world, and it took on more a description of the era that we're living in, which is why you hear things now like maintenance 4.0, quality 4.0, energy 4.0, you name it. I mean, there's even government 4.0, finance 4.0. People are using that to describe the big shifts that were going on right now. So I love the concept, but I would just say it's too soon for a fifth industrial revolution. I say we retire the term Industry 5.0. We just take those ideas, the concepts that are being pushed by the European Commission and others, and just say they're a part of the evolution of Industry 4.0, which we have a long time left before we're done with this era.
Yeah, yeah, and I not not to make it easy or simple, but I tend to agree with that viewpoint. And I just wanted to ask you because you're talking to so many different people, you're so plugged into that perspective rather than me trying to take a guess or just being over here, taking shots at people. I just wanted to ask someone that, sees this stuff. So it's interesting to wrestle with that, but I kind of like the way you put it. Let's switch over to AI. So AI, which I love that so far in this recording you've talked about the machine learning and that it's programmatic in nature. That's really important for people to understand. It's often seen as a magic silver bullet, AI. And I want to know what your take is on the current reality of AI and where is it overhyped specifically in the maintenance space?
Sure. So this is where we can get into a whole separate episode specifically on AI. And AI is this awfully broad concept, artificial intelligence that replicates human intelligence. And it's super broad and almost meaningless to use the word AI, but it's easy. When we actually get into it, there are specific technologies that you use, whether it is machine learning, natural language processing, generative AI, specifically LLMs, deep reinforcement learning. Like there's all these technologies that comprise the field of AI. But for argument's sake today, when I say AI, I'm just going to mean any of those. And we all know it's powerful, but it's not a set it and forget it solution. This is a big part of the way AI works, knowing that it's representing intelligence. It can and should be constantly evolving over time as it learns new information. Now, AI is making significant strides in areas like predictive maintenance and even anomaly detection and optimizing maintenance schedules, among other processes, but it's only as good as the data and processes that are feeding it. Now, right now, AI shines in data heavy environments where IoT sensors can be or already in place. And you have a solid foundation of maintenance data to work with. You have a history already. If you were just to install a bunch of IoT sensors right now and just start digitizing your maintenance logs and records, you don't really have a history to pull from. But in these cases where you have a data heavy environment, AI driven predictive maintenance can drastically work very well and reduce downtime, cut costs, optimize resource allocations. But the company's still relying on reactive or just preventative maintenance strategies with inconsistent data, non-digitized data, or paper. AI's potential is often very overestimated. Now, you can actually apply machine learning algorithms just purely to maintenance records, but your accuracy goes down. It's better than nothing, maybe, but it's not nearly as good as real-time data combined with historical records. And so this is where you can start to have the AI algorithms, the machine learning algorithms here generate false alarms, misinterpret asset conditions, or just fail to provide any meaningful insights. Now, where is it overhyped? Many believe that AI will instantly eliminate the need for human intervention.
Hmm.
It won't. AI can assist in decision making, but skilled technicians are still critical for interpreting the results, addressing unexpected issues, and making judgment calls that right now AI simply can't replicate, or at least not for the near term foreseeable future. Additionally, AI solutions are often pitched as plug and play, or they're perceived as plug and play, even if they're not advertised that way. When in reality, like I mentioned at the beginning, successful implementation requires proper integration with systems and proper maintenance of the AI models, because you don't just set it and forget it. You can with rule-based logic. You either get the rule right or the rule wrong. But this is not rule-based logic. This is something that as you get more information, your models can become better, and they can only become better if you keep feeding them and keep reviewing them. So you need to, the irony is you need to have maintenance on your models and your models used for maintenance.
I, that's awesome. I'm laughing too because so I've got a friend of mine. His name's Howard Penrose. He's also known as the Motor Doc, and he's very into this subject, very into being extremely real about it. And it's really important that everyone knows it's not, as you say, a hit it and forget it type solution. It seems like it's going to do all these things, but you have to teach it, you have to manage it, you have to monitor it, because everything is constantly being interpreted. And if that's not being done, you're going to get kind of a similar result to the garbage in, garbage out philosophies of all these other things that we leverage when it comes to digitization. So I think the potential or potentialities are tremendous. I think it's really good that people understand that it's not what you think it is, and they should really consider how they're going to leverage it. I love what you also said about how, with enough of the right data, contextual data, right, that has actual meaning, it can be leveraged to improve things like optimizing PM schedules. That is certainly a likely outcome if leveraged properly and if it's built right and it's, again, also maintained. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. How, Jeff, did your passion for technology in manufacturing begin? And what's your journey into this space? And you can go back as far as you like.
I'd say my journey started a long time ago. I mean, if you look at my undergrad was in electrical engineering technology at Purdue University. And I chose that because I really like understanding how technology works, how things work. I like that. I've always been a curious person and enjoyed that. And I made a big decision when I left college to decide, should I be like an engineer, or should I go into sales engineering? That was the choice I went into because I liked being involved with the technology, but I didn't want to just design one thing all day.
Mm.
I wanted to work with other people who were all designing different things all day. And that's where I thought sales engineering was the perfect field for me. I get to apply my knowledge, help people solve problems, help people advance different aspects of what they're doing, and still stay in the technology field. Manufacturing felt like a good fit for me to apply this technology to. And I've been in manufacturing my entire adult career. My specific areas of domain knowledge have ebbed and flowed from sensors to controls to motion to fluid dynamics to safety. And more recently, in the past 7 years, it's been related to Industry 4.0. So the new, more advanced technologies and staying current on what's happening with them.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I've got a bunch of different friends that are engineers of different types, different levels of experience, completely different environments. They're not always in manufacturing. It's something, maybe a slight one-off. And what's funny to me sometimes is when I can get an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer together, and I'm over here not an engineer, just pointing out stuff, shouting things out, and I can kind of get them going, and I can see how they're kind of connecting stuff, and you can see the two perspectives kind of all, I guess, blending. And you mentioned something that reminded me of what it's like to kind of sit in the middle and have all these different types of exposures to these environments. So when you're in that role where you're not just designing a single thing, or maybe it's, here's a 5-month project and then we're going to do another 6-month project, you're just getting a constant bit of variance that keeps things exciting, and you're constantly learning. You're hearing what people are dealing with. You're hearing new solutions you never thought of. So that's cool stuff. Um, I've got one that is literally listener submitted. It's a question on Industry 4.0. And Industry 4.0 has been pushed since 2011, yet 70% of initiatives don't go beyond pilots. What's holding companies back, and why are we talking about Industry 5.0 already? And we're bringing back that earlier question a little bit.
So I kind of answered this a little bit, but I'll get into a little bit more. First, you have to understand the term Industry 4.0, yes, has been around for a very specific amount of time. All right. But I want to separate the term from the concept. So the concept being the fourth industrial revolution, the term being Industry 4.0. All right. So Industry 4.0, like I said, it was coined or at least famously introduced in 2011 at Hanover Fair as German's high-tech strategy announcement. And it was a way of describing the sweeping transformation happening in the manufacturing industry, the way that the Germans at the time viewed it. But the wider global fourth industrial revolution often has a much broader meaning. So when did the revolution really start? That's hard to pinpoint. We can say when the term Industry 4.0 came out, but when did the revolution start? I don't really know. Maybe in 50 years, historians will likely have a clear view looking back on when the technology shifts actually made an impact and we saw the switch in society. But we have to have time tell us that answer. Now, you said something interesting. About 70% of Industry 4.0 initiatives stall at the pilot stage. I'm not familiar with that claim. Just to be honest, I'm familiar with claims of 70% of digital transformation projects fail, and that's something that I've had. Several different companies have similar statistics there. But when it comes to Industry 4.0, it's trickier to measure. And why? Because Industry 4.0 isn't a single technology, it isn't a capability, or it isn't a solution. It's the era that we are living in right now, encompassing a wide range of technologies. So it really depends on what you mean by it. Because if you say things like IoT, 3D printing, cobots, collaborative robots, a lot of people would argue all those are part of Industry 4.0. They've all reached higher levels of maturity and adoption and success rates. But other technologies within Industry 4.0, AI, augmented reality, virtual reality, digital twins are still much earlier in their stages. And there's still new ones coming out that you could argue are still part of Industry 4.0. Agentic AI is a big thing in 2025. Knowledge graphs are a big thing. And you could argue that those are still in very much experimental phases, figuring it out. So why are people already talking about Industry 4.0? Part of it's marketing hype. Part of it's also a reflection of changing priorities in over 10 years. Industry 5.0 aims to build on the foundations that the German government specifically talked about in their high-tech strategy, and it just switches an emphasis on human centricity, sustainability, and resilience. But in a world that's increasingly focused on environmental and social responsibilities, I would argue that companies are doing this anyway, even just as part of their digital transformation or Industry 4.0 initiatives, whatever they want to describe the changes that they're doing right now.
Yeah, and there's so much to unpack with that question. It seems at first like it's a simple question, and that's another one where a lot of these we could just spin out into a complete 2-3 hour episode, and we still might not know much more than we're learning here. I had another question here, but I'm going to skip this one because it's a waste of time because we've covered some stuff a little bit redundantly. But what do you think is the key or keys to developing a world-class digitization strategy?
I think you first need to really understand what it is that you are doing. And it sounds so basic. It sounds so simple. And I would argue it is simple, but it's not easy because there are so many different capabilities that you can do by digitizing or digitally transforming your business. And there's usually two main trains of thought that look into the drivers or the outcomes of this. One is problem solving. That is, we recognize we have an issue, and digital technologies and transforming what we do can solve or improve that particular problem. That's the traditional way of looking at it. And sometimes that's transformative, but most of the time it's not. The real transformative side is looking at a concept that is introduced, I got from a guy named Brian Evergreen, called future solving. You're not solving problems here. There are no problems. You're just creating a vision of a future that you want your company to have. That's a whole different way of looking at it. That's more thinking about the art of the possible of what you could do and then figuring out a path to get there. That's an entirely different way of looking at it. By that very nature, that's transformative.
Mm. Yeah.
Creating a new future. So the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what you're trying to do with it. You also need to have a very good understanding of your current digital maturity. And there's a lot of different assessment tools that are out there that will help you identify where you're currently at. And I would say, just, I could get into this much more, but those would be a great starting point to be able to help guide you on making sure that your efforts are useful.
Yeah, and just on top of that, is it okay for people to reach out to you if they want to connect and have you kind of give them guidance on that?
I mean, sure, it all depends on what, but people reach out to me and connect with me all day, every day anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, feel free to do that. I mean, I post on Industry 4.0 and digital transformation almost daily. So there's always new things to learn and ask questions about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. I want to switch you into, it's called the fun question segment. And if you're a first timer on CMMS radio, you got to go through or suffer through the fun question segment. And there are no gotchas, none of that kind of stuff. This is just kind of a fun thing where we can kind of get to know you and some of your perspectives. First one, what is your favorite music?
My favorite music depends on what I am doing. I don't necessarily have one particular kind of favorite music. It depends on what I'm doing, and it's kind of ebbed and flowed over time as to what I listen to the most. So I listen to a particular station, just the first thing I think of, called Neon Chill. From Amazon Music, whenever I am studying or working and have music playing on. It's a very kind of transient electronic music that is, I don't know, to me, soothing. If I'm trying to do something like be energized or work out or just be more I don't know, happy, then yeah, I actually listen to a variety of different things, including a lot of my older music that I used to like from high school and college. So a lot of 90s and 2000s music I would listen to, both popular, alternative, that would be out there. And then I have a whole separate set of music for like entertaining or partying that I like
Okay.
to put on. I have two stations I like, one called Tropical House Radio on Pandora and another called Hipster Cocktail Radio that I really like. So there's my answer for type of music.
All right, I like it. I like it. It's eclectic, and you framed it into the different kind of modes of what you're doing at the time. So I like that. Second fun question is, what is your favorite sport or hobby? And on sport, it does not have to be one that you play. It could be one you like to watch and root for and support.
So it's interesting for that. I'm going to say I'm not like a huge sport guy overall. I mean, I grew up playing soccer my entire life and even did it a little bit in a men's league as an adult. And so I played soccer for 20 years or more. What's interesting though is I never really watched soccer. I always loved playing it, but I never really watched it. I've always watched football as probably the longest standing sport, except during the, I'm going to call it the Jordan era, where it was just all basketball and nothing else.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, not as important to me right now. So that's probably my overall answer there from kind of a sports questions. But a lot of my hobbies that are, out there right now aren't related to sports. They're related to things that my kids are in because they're at young age, 8, 6, and 2. And so, like, for example, Legos is a big building hobby that I have that if you were to ask me 6 years ago, I didn't have any. I haven't touched a Lego in 20 some years. And then now I'm building stuff all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Normally, I don't add too much when you're answering these questions, but do you remember the Erector set?
Yeah, I had an erector set.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I don't hear anything about it anymore, so I'm always thinking of that. So, These are just, fun questions. Now, here's the big one. This is the big one. No wrong answers. What is your philosophy, perspective, anything at all when it comes to this concept of work-life balance?
I mean, my philosophy is find what works for your life. I mean, I have a very different work lifestyle than a lot of other people. Some people like working from home, some people like being in an office. I am someone that is on 24/7, evenings, weekends. People reach me, I respond to stuff. I'm working all the time, but I'm also off all the time. So I will do things in the middle of the day and take off or run errands or go do something with my kids and then work in the evening. So I found that to be much better for my life than when I started my career, and it was more of an 8 to 5. And then when it came to 5, I didn't touch my computer, do anything at all until the next day, versus now I'm connected all the time and I like it better. It allows me to adapt to my family.
Yeah, it's good. It's why I say there's no wrong answers, because somebody out there, this will resonate. They will appreciate that, or it'll get them thinking about, I never thought about my work-life balance approach or opinion or philosophy. It's good stuff. It's fun stuff. First of all, Jeff Winter, thank you for being here with me. I want people to know exactly how to get in touch with you. You can visit jeffwinterinsights.com to learn more and find this guy. Jeff Winter is all over LinkedIn. You probably know him, and if you don't, just go look him up, connect with him, read his stuff. He engages. If you got questions in that comment, he'll get back to you. He'll throw you a comment, and he's out there. So thank you again, Jeff, for being on CMMS Radio.
Thanks for having me.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit cmmsradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.